Okay, so I'm back here with part two of this comparison, this hydraulic improvement. Now the difference here is I've got a 2025R pump on the tractor on the right. So the part one was stock pump with stock configuration on the left and the improvement on the right. Right here I'm setting the RPMs to 1600. My tractor on the right is my personal tractor, and I run it down to about 1250. I like it that way because if somebody comes up to talk to me, it's a lot quieter, but I don't really do any work at that level. So if I'm doing work, really 2000 RPMs, which is really barely above idle, does the trick for me. So I'm moving the tractors here through my first test. They moved around on me just a little bit, so set the parking brake and get a little bit better configuration here. And learning how awkward it is to set the parking brake if you don't have a seat. So I left the seat off because I'm constantly, moving things around. So it's just easier. The seat's probably the hardest part of the installation if you get one of these. Taking the seat off's a pain. So here we are, 1600 RPMs, 2025R pump on the right, stock configuration on the left, and you can see a very significant improvement there. If you watch part one, I talked about how I was a little concerned that you might not keep up with stock in the configuration because of the ratios and how that was changing. But we did outrun stock just barely. In this case, we're outrunning stock. I'm going to say roughly a third, just based on what it looks like visually. I realize that may not be exactly right from a timing point of view. I'm bringing it up to 2000 RPMs. As I mentioned, that's really probably the lowest most people do any real work at, other than just moving the tractor around. There we go. As you can see, much faster. That's easily a third faster, if not a little bit more than that. Trying to get everything set exactly the same as much as I can. I'm sure it's not down to the millimeter, but it's pretty close. Luckily, the increase in performance is such that even if they weren't exactly the same, I think it's very clear how much faster this is. Test number 3 up to 2500 RPMs. And this is, as I mentioned before, really the top RPM range that I'm going to do work in. I think we've all tried to lift something that didn't quite lift it, so you run it up to 3300 RPMs, and I'd be surprised if anybody was able to lift something at 3300 RPMs that they couldn't lift at 2500 RPMs. Makes a small difference, but usually not enough. As you can see here, just like with the stock pump, it really gets going at 2500 RPMs. Probably right around twice as fast. And so for this one, I thought I'd see if I could outrun it if I started halfway up at 2500 RPMs, and it just beats it. And I know that may not be exactly halfway up, but it's somewhere close. The last test here, wide open throttle on both. I'll just say I think this is wicked fast. This is faster than you really need on your front end loader. But keep in mind, nobody does it like this, and you don't just yank back on the stick. Once you get accustomed to your tractor, you're going to give it the amount of flow that it needs. But as you can see here, I mean that's more than twice as fast. Playing around just a little bit here just to see, where could I put it and still catch it. Probably a little above half, and I could still catch it pretty easily. That's pretty much catching it there. And I consider this roughly half, and that works out. Similar to the 25, 100 RPM. So keep in mind, with this configuration, every RPM or every gallon per minute that you go more, tractor on the right, all of it goes to the implement. Tractor on the left, you actually split it 50-50. So that's why as RPMs increase, you're actually going to increase performance all on the implement side with this modification, because you've already satisfied the need for the steering cylinder. So what I'm doing right now is trying to show you the two-function capability that this enables. What I didn't know when I started to do that is I'd forgotten there's no seat, and so I thought, well, I'll just try to do it from this side. My brain does not work quite that well. I'm pretty good at finding that relatively small sweet spot in the seat, adjacent to the seat for the tractor. I can't. You get a little bit of a glimpse here. I know the tractor's jerking around here. It's because I have no finesse not sitting on the tractor. Right there you can kind of see things are moving pretty fast on both circuits there, but I gave up. I was like, this is not going to work out. So what I would tell you is, in my experience, a couple hours on it, finding that sweet spot's a lot easier when you have that extra flow. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.